Well, we are counting down the days until Joe Biden is unelected from his office. And one of the reasons why that is, of course, is because of the legacy of corruption that has surrounded not only his presidency, but also when he was a senator and a vice president, of course. One of those instances is with his energy secretary, and most notably one of the most recent ones, is with his energy secretary, Jennifer Granholm, and Josh Hawley. He basically goes in on her for her corruption and insider trading. I'm going to show that video, but really quick before I do that, I do want to talk about a sponsor of this episode of the podcast. It's the History on the Rocks podcast. It's hard to know what's going on politically, guys, unless you know your history. And History on the Rocks teaches you some of the history and talks about it in a really fun way that you weren't necessarily taught in school. Something that they're talking about right now that I find really interesting is the Horse Soldiers mission in Afghanistan. So if you're interested in kind of Afghanistan era war talk and kind of some of the crazy things that were going on during that time, definitely go check out that podcast. Again, it's the History on the Rocks podcast. You'll find them anywhere that you listen to them. All right, without further ado, let's play the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, nice to see you again. When you were here last, I talked with you about the fact that more than 130 officials in the Energy Department reported more than 2,700 trades of shares, bonds, and options in companies that ethics officers said was directly related to the agency's work. This is institutionalized corruption. And I asked you point blank, do you own any individual stock? And you told me, no. Let's just look at it. It was not a difficult question. Do you own individual stocks, Madam Secretary? You said no. In fact, you repeated it 3 times to me. No, no, no. Turns out that was false. You did own multiple individual stocks, and you neglected to report it to this committee for months afterwards. Why did you mislead this committee?
Oh, my goodness.
That was exactly my response. So why did you mislead this committee?
I believed that I had sold all individual stocks, and I was incorrect. So I came back.
You just don't know your portfolio?
Pretty much.
It's a big one, I guess, huh?
No, it's extremely small.
Apparently not. Someone manages it for you?
So I came back as soon as I found out that, in fact, I had not sold all individuals.
Wait. No, that's not true either. Let's just look at the timeline. Let's not. I just remind you, you're under oath. Madam Secretary, you testified you didn't own any individual stocks. You didn't sell the stocks for a whole nother month. And after you sold the stocks, you waited another month before you informed this committee. Why did you mislead us, and what were you hiding? Why did you wait so long? Why did you hide this?
I did not hide it because I brought it forth to the committee when I realized that we had made a mistake.
Really? What explains the delay? Why did you wait for a full month to explain your actions to this committee, your false testimony?
That's less than a month, and I sent a letter explaining what had happened.
May the 15th to June the 9th.
Are we gonna... I owned a Ford stock that was...
You misled this committee, and you wait. What were the stocks? What were the stocks that you owned?
It was a Ford stock that my husband had owned since he was very young, and I just was not aware of it.
And what were the others? You sold 6 stocks. What were the other 5?
I sold non-conflicting stocks.
What were they?
Honestly, I don't even know. I do know the Ford one because that was a conflict.
You don't.
That's why I raised this.
You're here before this committee a year later after actively misleading us, after denying and delaying, and now you won't tell us. Was one of them Proterra?
No.
You sat on the board of directors at Proterra. You made millions, CNN reports, and stock options at Proterra. Then you promoted Proterra stock and Proterra products as energy secretary. Was that one of the stocks that you sold?
This is so, I mean, really.
Was that one of the stocks that you sold? Yes, really.
No.
You are presiding over institutionalized corruption in your energy department. You have violated the Stock Act 9 separate times. You have been referred by the Inspector General for...
So a huge question right now is, can we get Congress to, and I really don't know if it's possible, but can we get them to pass a law banning other members from Congress from buying and selling stocks? It's something that public opinion, Democrat, Republican, like you name it, independent, is very positive on it. Like no one would be upset except for Nancy Pelosi probably and other members of Congress, but no civilians, normal people would be upset with insider trading being outlawed. And the question is, we just don't know if it's ever going to happen. However, In the executive branch, which Jennifer Granholm is part of the executive branch, by the way, appointed by Joe Biden, they have ethics councils, and in some cases they have laws. And there are laws in place. Josh Hawley actually talked about some of them. And I like Josh Hawley a lot, by the way. And it's not just because we share a name, but because he's very precise in the way he goes after people. It's not unfounded or just kind of like all over the place like some other Republican senators or congressmen. But he's very calculated in this instance. But he talks about the laws that Jennifer Granholm is breaking. And it makes a lot of sense that this would be the case. I mean, she's literally the number one effector of energy policy in America, and especially obviously from the executive side. And so it makes sense that she wouldn't be able to own stocks in Ford, for instance, which she owned. I don't think she should be able to buy or sell stocks, period. But obviously not when it has to do with energy. For the average person, by the way, in their older years, like Jennifer Granholm is, no disrespect to her, but she's, getting on the older side. The average person in their older years could maybe not know that they had a couple stocks of Ford. Sure, especially if you're married, maybe someone bought a couple stocks a long time ago, maybe even before you were married, they didn't tell you. But here's the thing, Jennifer Granholm is not the average person. Jennifer Granholm is the chief executive of energy in the greatest energy exporting country in the history of the world. And you're telling me she didn't know that she had Ford stock? Yeah, I'm calling BS on that. Obviously, Josh Hawley did too. You could tell that, the faces she's making is the face of a guilty person. She's bewildered, kind of. She does the thing where you're guilty and you're like, why would you even accuse me of that? When obviously she knows that she is guilty of that. But as I said before, when going after corrupt politicians, you have to show the paper trail. I think Josh Hawley did that really effectively by showing it kind of up on the screen with his graphics, showing that even when she supposedly found out that she had Ford stock, that she waited like a month before even reporting it. So her story doesn't hold up even that way. Even assuming that she didn't know about it, she obviously held on to it for a span of time instead of just immediately turning it over. The only disappointment about this is that our elected representatives on both sides aren't honest enough to impeach people who make a buck off of Americans. Sure, this is an awesome moment for Americans to see the corruption in the Biden administration, to see kind of firsthand that this is happening. And we know it's happening, but to be able to actually just see it and see an example of it helps us all internalize what's really going on in our country. But the disappointment is that we don't have elected officials who have the backbone to actually impeach and remove people like this, which it's Congress's job to do that in this case. It was their job to approve this person, Jennifer Granholm, and it's their job to impeach or remove her if they find that she is corrupt. And it's so obvious that she is. And I think personally we should err on the side of caution anyways. I don't think we should assume that people are guilty, but I think that if there's, if she says, I made a mistake, I don't care if she made a mistake. You are the chief executive of energy in the country. I don't believe she made a mistake, but if she did, it doesn't matter. She should be fired because she didn't do her job well. And the American people, they deserve to have an amazing executive branch, and they just don't right now. But it's disappointing that we don't have a backbone in Congress where we can remove people. Mayorkas is a great example of this. He is failing us at the border. He is allowing an invasion, a full-scale invasion into our southern border. And Congress, at least in the House, was able to remove him, or was able to impeach him, but the Senate does not have the backbone to remove him. And that's not a Democrat or Republican talking point. I think it should happen on either side when you have a corrupt politician, full stop. And as a conservative, I personally am happy when we're gridlocked. I don't want laws to just pass willy-nilly, but corrupt politicians, I want them out as soon as possible, and we should have a Congress that's willing to act on that fast. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you got a little bit of entertainment or value out of this video, please go down below, subscribe, and comment what your thoughts on this video was. We will see you next time.